So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell it to die? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Vishanti. Welcome to, what is this, number 34? Dapper Reacts 34? Yeah, I believe it is, because last time was 33, which was, of course, the Illuminati episode, because of the number 33. Vishanti, how are you today?
Yep. Not great.
Mainlining some caffeine?
Yeah, I don't feel super great. Flesh husks, man.
Yeah, they're not great, are they?
It's really not fun.
Yeah.
So. But,
No.
I'm here and probably gonna go right back to bed after this.
You're not gonna come hang out with us afterwards and watch Power Rangers?
Not Power Rangers isn't really my thing, so you guys enjoy.
Oh, my goodness. Why do we even have you here?
I know, it's almost like people have interests that aren't the same. But,
They should all be exactly like me. All of them.
Hey, Dapper, tell us about that fancy schmancy timer at the bottom of the screen.
Oh yeah, that's the Sal's Bitchmade timer. So if you're new here and you don't know who Sal is or why he has a Bitchmade timer, or who made him a Bitchmade timer, which is Vishanti, by the way.
Is me.
Yes. So that is the time since the premiere of a video called Sal's Pal about Sanford, which was really mostly only called Sal's Pal because it rhymes and Sanford happens to be friends with Sal Cordova. And Sal was all, oh, I'm going to be here for the premiere. I'm going to watch this with you guys. It's going to be great. And he wasn't there for the premiere. And he wasn't there for the next two premieres. And then, rather than, doing anything like watching it so he could make a response, instead, he decided to tone police and then make responses anyway without ever having watched it. So as far as I'm concerned, when he didn't show up, that first made him bitchmade, but that's not a big deal, right? Because, you can watch the video over or something. But then, making quote-unquote responses, tone policey responses, without ever actually knowing what he's responding to, yeah, that's enough being bitchmade to call it out.
This is just wild speculation, but I have a guess about what he thought was going to happen. He, for whatever reason, probably saw Sal's Pal and went, oh my gosh, that's my friend John Sanford. And then he realized way too late that your channel is all about debunking bad science and misinformation and things of that nature. And he realized, oh.
Yeah.
And then he didn't show up. That's just speculation, though. He's welcome to prove me wrong.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
Yeah, I'm skeptical, but whatever. Also, Rembrandt, I'm okay in the coffee pot because I'm very, very, very resistant to fire damage, so I'll be okay for a while.
Which is, it's a nice way to be. All right, well,
yeah.
We are looking today at the part 2 of this Genesis Apologetics conference. And the man you see on stage here is, in fact, Dan Biddle, the king of Genesis Apologetics, or whatever. I don't really know. He probably wouldn't call himself that. So yeah, whatever he is, he's that guy. Now,
no series on him.
I think I have. I don't know if I have any series about him specifically as like a speaker, but like I consider pretty much anything Genesis Apologetics puts out, especially if rather than having a specific other speaker, it's like a voiceover work kind of thing, where they have like a narrator. I consider all of those to be him. So yeah, okay. I do.
I was gonna say I could swear you had a series about Dan Biddle, but
yeah. So like, I consider like my an asteroid killed every dinosaur ever series to basically be a response to Dan Biddle, and that's the one where we find out the Genesis Apologetics thinks that the way that mainstream real science thinks that the dinosaurs went extinct is that literally every dinosaur in the fossil record was killed directly by the asteroid that hit the Earth at the end of the Cretaceous period. Okay. All of them. Every individual
okay, sure.
dinosaur.
Sure,
right.
All right. Whatever you say.
It's
Whatever you say.
It's quite the take. I'll just say that. It's quite the take.
Yeah, definitely is a take there.
Yeah. So that's the kind of level that we're operating with this guy. He's worse than ICR, which is the only other organization he got to attend this, is ICR.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, and ICR is widely known, even among creationists, as like the bottom of the big three in terms of like legitimacy and scientific chops, and also even funding to some extent. And so Genesis Apologetics is worse than ICR, but they're not like on the same level of like popularity or funding or history, right? Because ICR was the first big name in young Earth creationism, right? That's like Dwayne Gish and Henry Morris. Those are the two big names for ICR, and they were the first big names in creationism.
I still really, really think you need a Gish with Vish series, and I've sent you links here and there.
I mean, yeah. Well, how about this? What if when we finish this, we can at least temporarily retitle that, as long as we find some really good Gish stuff to go over.
Okay. Work.
Okay. All right. Well.
Also, before you get too far into this, I'll mention this after the break as well, but thank you to David Hercules for getting me the Kiddish Cup off of my Amazon wish list.
Yes, I saw that.
It was a very thoughtful gift, and it enables me to be a slightly more observant Jew.
Nice.
Yeah. So now I have a fancy cup to drink wine out of, rather than just regular cups.
Exactly. You can't just drink wine out of any.
Pomegranates. Yeah. I
just
love
like the temple.
Yeah, allegedly.
Well, as described in the instructions on how to build a temple.
Yeah.
So
along with the little bells, the bottom of the priest's little cloak there. So yeah.
We know that there were temples on those locations, and I don't think that them having pomegranates is like such a crazy, absurd idea. Like that seems like.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
sure. Very plausible.
Yeah.
I find that there might be some details in there that may not have made it into the final, but what do I know? I've never seen it. So
I'd be pickier about like giant bowls made out of bull pillars or something. Like that seems more far-fetched than just like we put pomegranates in the tapestry and whatnot.
Well, I mean, a lot of those things initially were plated with a certain type of metal, like, so not all of them were just solid gold, which is probably smart, but some of the gigantic, the big bronze, like, bath, it's like, I would have liked to see that.
Yeah, but that's the part that I'm the most skeptical ever made it into reality.
I mean, heck, it would have been neat to see, if for no other reason than spectacle, But who knows? Maybe the Babylonians ran into town one day and were like, "This belongs to us now," and they melted it down and did something with it. I don't know.
Or they just took it as is.
They just took it as is. Yeah.
All right, we got a couple membership chats. Savage Cobra official per se, who's been a member for 7 months and is at the Amnio level, says, "Isn't good Gish stuff a bit of a contradiction in terms?" So when I say good, well, yes, to some extent. But when I say good in this context, what I mean is good for the channel. Right? So there's a lot of creation stuff that I watch that never makes it onto the channel because it's just so boring. And I don't want to subject myself to that, and I super don't want to subject all of y'all to that. So I don't. Because, my goodness, you would unsubscribe given some of the stuff that I've seen. I would unsubscribe from myself. So when I say good in this context, it means specifically for the channel. Beldeborn, who's been a member for 9 months, is at the Sauropsid level, says, "I would be down for a Gish response series as well." Okay. Well, then I will keep that in mind because, let's see, we've only got... we've still got a whole bunch of this left, so we're going to be doing this for a few months. But still, we are in the last quarter of this.
I want to win. I want to join the alliteration club.
Yes. Well, this is the rhyming club.
Or I should say, the consonants club.
Yeah.
Because you've got Matt with Maddie, Kent with Bent.
Yeah. Most of them rhyme.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So Pibblepunk for $5 says, couldn't stick around for the birthday stream, but here's a little something. Don't spend it all in one place now. I will promise that I will split up the $5, which is actually going to come out to like 3 something, into several different purchases. I promise. I will buy penny candy from 5 different penny candy stores. There we go. Is that even a thing anymore?
That's at least 3 different items from the dollar store.
There you go. Well, that's all in one place, though.
It doesn't have to be the same dollar store.
Okay, but there's one dollar store.
2 items. Or hey, you could go to 2 different Daiso locations because everything there's $1.50.
Okay. But also, like, there's like one dollar store within like 4 blocks of me. I'm not going to go find the next closest one. I can walk to that one.
So fair.
All right. I think unless we have anything else, we are going to go ahead and hit play. Now, this is the start of Biddle's talk, so we don't have any real context other than the fact that, hey, it's Biddle's turn now. So here we go.
I'm going to take the next 20 minutes and talk to you guys about Noah's Flood, one of the most passionate topics that I have in my life because it was really, really involved in my conversion story.
Okay, everybody, put into the chat how long you think it will take Vishanti and I to go through 20 minutes of this talk. And also, David Hercules has just joined the channel at the Amnio level. Thank you very much, David Hercules. Welcome. Everybody, send not pelagic tunicates.
Pelagic tunicates.
Sessile tunicates and or tetrapods.
Don't send the Dutch tunicates.
No pelagic tunicates. Unacceptable. Vishanti, how could you?
Don't send the Dutch tunicates.
How dare you? All right, here we go.
I was saved when I was 11, kind of walked away from my faith until I was about 17, but I've been locked back in and walking with Christ since age 17. And but I didn't know that Genesis was true history until about 10 years ago, and the evidence...
Cross-platform adventure says 3 weeks. That is optimistic.
I was joking when I said at least 3 when he said, 20 minutes. I'm like, yeah, it's going to take us at least 3 weeks to get through this then, right?
Yeah. Is it just me, or is it a little weird of a thing to say, like, I was saved when I was 11, but then I walked away from the faith, and then I came back, and now I'm saved, or something? Like, it's just a weird way to put it.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was actually going to not say something about that, because I was like, nah, I shouldn't. But since you brought it up, look, how many informed life decisions about really, really, really important theological topics like that can you make at 11?
I don't know.
And even if you're like, hey, maybe he was like super mature for his age at 11 and he really understood the theological implications and he believed, you're like, hey, that resurrection happened. And then how much walking away from the faith can you do between the ages of 11 and 17 when presumably you're still living in your parents' house, going to the same schools and, all that stuff? Like,
I think walking away just
doing, my man?
Walking away just means, like, not paying so much attention during the sermon.
Yeah, right. I'm like, what? Did you run away from home? Were you, like, a drug addict? What was going on here, man?
He was smoking cigarettes outside the school. He was a pretty hardcore guy.
He watched PG-13 movies.
Oh, my goodness. He probably peeked into an R-rated movie in a movie theater, but didn't go all the way in. He just opened the door. I was like, oh, man. Astronaut Community for $5 says, if it takes less than 90 minutes to get through 20 minutes of Biddle, I'll eat a pelagic tunicate. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
That actually sounds a lot like eating jellyfish, which I've done, and I don't really super recommend it. It's just like rubber with sauce. I only had it because I was like, I'm never going to be in a place where I can have jellyfish ever again, so sure, I'll order an appetizer of, like, fried jellyfish, and it was... didn't like it.
Bleh.
It wasn't gross, it was just boring and rubbery. And I'm just sitting here just chewing it like, yep, it just tastes like someone put a rubber band in some sauce. Okay, here we go.
For Noah's Flood is what pulled it off for me. So
imagine that Noah's Flood is the thing that brings you back to Christianity. Oh, what a weird thing to do.
Just by way of reminder, all of our students in the back, if we still have any left, are free to students. If you're kindergarten to college, all of our books or DVDs are free to you guys.
What if someone's a student in the school of life?
Yeah.
Because aren't we all students? Star Wars Cobra official per se for $2 says, he was using the word crap. Oh, yeah, that right there. That is definitely enough to get your Christian card revoked.
And then if you are an
Yeah.
adult, you can go ahead and pay. That would be great. We have our movie about Noah's flood coming up. It'll be this.
I'm sorry, as someone who went as a non-traditional student to college, very much as an adult, I am slightly offended at the idea that there's students and then there's adults and that those two don't have any overlap. That is not how that Venn
Yeah.
diagram works.
I mean, I'm gonna try to be charitable because later on I won't be. But
First hour is nice
obviously,
Vishanti.
the first hour is me pulling my punches.
Mm.
But I'm gonna just try to roll with the fact that most students don't have a lot of disposable income,
True.
whereas working adults tend to have more. So offering it to them for free is probably nice, but again, there are adult students and
Who also don't often have all that much disposable income because instead of,
Right.
working all the time, they're often doing school all the time. And they have things like, all those school books and whatnot to pay for. Because they don't give you like a senior discount for your school books at college, I promise. At least I
imagine
didn't get
getting
one.
a senior discount when you're 35.
I mean, I wouldn't object to such a thing. All right, here we go.
Year. It's going to come to theaters probably in December. It's called The Ark in the Darkness. I mentioned it earlier today, and we've got a book that covers a lot of the evidence we're going to be going over.
Oh, I plan to
I
watch
have
that.
questions. I have questions. I'm seeing more than one window on that arc.
Yeah, that is curious, isn't it?
I know that's not a question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Maybe that's an AI generated arc, so it didn't actually know what the Bible said about the arc, so it couldn't follow the instructions from the Bible to only have one window.
Which is weird because you think that having access to the text, multiple versions all over the internet.
Yeah, but it doesn't know how to contextualize any of that. Also, Linda Peterson has just joined the channel at the tetrapod level. Send tetrapod emojis or sessile tunicate emojis.
Pelagic.
No pelagic. No pelagic.
Pretty pelagic tunicate.
No. Also, I
Terrific pelagic tunicates.
like the one on the right here. That actually has like the Daniel A. Biddle name for a few reasons. One, I like the it's a little bit more saturated, especially the lights on the arc. But also, I kind of like the rainbowy colors coming in from like the god rays.
Yeah.
So you know what, Dan? Free like artistic advice. Stick with the version on the right. It's a better version. Just in general.
Yeah.
In that movie and also in my talk, we do have the leading flood movie right now on YouTube. It's called Noah's Flood and Catastrophic Plate Tectonics from Pangea to Today.
Ooh, it's only 23 minutes.
Ooh.
We should still probably watch it at some point.
Yeah.
Has about 2.7 million views, and in 22 minutes, it's going to cover a lot of the research I'm going to go through
How many
right now.
views does it have now? Because this video was
Oh.
what? How many years ago?
This was earlier this year.
Okay.
So
So
we'll,
probably hasn't changed that much.
let's find out. Genesis Apologetics. With that many views, it's gotta be their like top viewed video.
Welcome to
stupid. If I go to popular, Noah's Flood, Catastrophic, it still says 2.7 million. So yeah.
So let's first start about the Genesis flood timeline. I tried to make one single slide, and again, this is probably not in your handouts, so send me an email, I'd be happy to share this slide. But in one slide, we see the whole layout for the process of the flood here. So the flood was not just a 40-day process, it was a 371-day process. The water inundated the earth, zenith at about day 150, then the water subsided for about 150 days, and earth dried out for 70 days.
Oh, and Dr. Tapioca Weasel has let us know that Dan Biddle's doctorate is in, quote, industrial organizational psychology, which...
Okay.
Look, I'm not going to say that that's
Okay.
a fake thing to have a degree in, but I will say I have no clue what that is supposed to be, or what about that is supposed to make him at all qualified to talk about any of this. And for $5,
Remember, if you're an expert in one thing, that makes you an expert in everything.
I feel like that might actually be the opposite of how it works.
I mean, he's calling himself PhD selling a little book here, so the implication is obviously he's qualified.
Yeah, that is something, right? Like, okay, dishonest on its own for him to call himself Dr. Dan Biddle or Dan Biddle PhD. No, however, when you go around using that title in books that have nothing to do with your actual field of expertise, it's a little iffy, right? It's like, it would be the same as like, oh, hey, trust me, I'm a doctor, after you're giving like bullshit medical advice. And it turns out like, oh, your doctorate is in like, I don't know, like medieval English.
Structural engineering?
Yeah, structural engineering. It's like, yeah, you are a doctor, just not the kind who should be telling people how to treat their freaking cancer.
Yeah, you're not a physician, though. That's different.
Also, for $5, Mark Smith says, sorry this comment is late, was making ramen. The best way to eat jellyfish is with peanut butterflies. What would be the point in eating butterflies? Like, there's so little, like, actual, like, flesh there, I think. But then again, I do know that there are groups that make, like, things like actual, like, dipteran, like, flies, like, especially brine flies, into a big part of their diet. Like, there's a few saltwater lakes in Africa that have gigantic brine fly spawning events. And the people who live around there will, like, come together, and, like, the flies are just thick in the air, right? Like, you swoop a net through it, and it just fills right up. And then they'll basically just turn them into, like, fly patties and cook those. And it's just free protein. And hey, you know what? Entomophagy isn't my big thing, but, like, I'm not going to knock people for whom it is their big thing. So, especially when, you know, you're in a largely pre-industrial society, because most of the groups that do this are still, like, doing, like, the hunter-gatherer or, like, nomadic herdsman lifestyle. So, yeah. Anyway, here we go.
The flood process, we have the word baka here is when we have the breaching or the fountains of the great deep opening up, the water rising. Then we have the peak, and here's all the scriptures that go along with that. Then we have sheet flow that's coming off, causing all kinds of erosion after the water zenith. And then we have channelized flow that happened after that caused all types of geological features we see, like in the middle of America, with a lot of channelized flow. But in one...
Okay, so this part right here I'm actually okay with, right? This is the part of a scientific inquiry where you're building a hypothesis, right? And that's fine. Your hypothesis can be basically anything. It doesn't matter. As long as it makes testable predictions and can be shown to be false, then go have fun with whatever. The key is, though, is he going to get to then making predictions that are testable and then showing that they were tested and that they're correct? But also, I'm seeing a whole lot of people who haven't hit like. Help me out. It really helps with the algorithm, because the algorithm has been kind of hating me the last month or two. Like, yeah, my last 2 video series have been, the algorithm was just like, no, people aren't going to watch these. Not because they're not going to click on it when we show it to them, but just because we're not going to show it to them. Which is really, really sucky. Yeah. Because it's just like, okay, so there's literally nothing I did wrong. It's not that people don't like the thumbnail or the topic or the videos themselves.
It's just YouTube being capricious.
Yep, YouTube just decides, we're just not going to show it to people. Okay, thanks. So, yeah, any help with the algorithm would really, really help. Because, while I know that, you know, the algorithm giveth and the algorithm taketh away, I would like for it to give it a bit more.
One slide there, we have the whole summary of Noah's flood. Let's first talk about the extent of the fossil record. I think this is a very obvious thing for those of us who have studied.
Okay, so this is PaleoDB, Paleo Database. Now, Paleo Database is actually a really cool resource. I'm actually going to see if I can't pull up the PaleoDB URL and put it in chat. Also, ask from that community for $5.12, which is an odd amount. The algorithm's been hating Sir Sick to wonder what's up. Oh, yeah, you know what? I think I heard something about that on like his Twitter or something. Yeah, that's... I don't know.
It's a community post with it, too.
Yeah, I put a community post out there, too. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, Scott Duke for $1.99 is asking you to please explain the timer on the screen. Thanks.
All right. Well, first I'm going to put the PaleoDB Navigator URL in chat. And then I'm going to pin it. So if you want to generate this map, all you really have to do is go to that link, and click Cretaceous. So what he has done here is showing you a cropped version of a world map with every single Cretaceous fossil site known to exist. That's it. So, real quick, I'm going to say thank you to Savage Cobra Official, who just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Oh, and they went to Knee. Oh, I just lost them. I'm terrible at this. Give me a second. Where'd they go? They went to, let's see, Knee, Vagri. No, they didn't go to Knee, sorry. Vagri, Chris McDaniel, Ilias Leblu, Nita, and Sandino Flores. Sorry. And Pillow Point for $5 says, global agriculture would be way more sustainable if us Westerners ate more bugs. Just saying. Now, that's true. Yeah. So, Vishanti, when are you going to start eating some grasshoppers?
No thanks.
All right, let's see. So the timer here is basically the time since I put out the Sal's Pal video series, which Sal Cordova... Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough today. I don't know why. And Sal Cordova said that he would watch it, and then rather than watching it, he just decided to tone police it and quote-unquote pretend to respond, because, you know, you can't respond to something you've never seen in the first place, right? That's why when someone asked me about one of his video series that I hadn't seen, I just said, I don't know, I can't respond to it, I haven't seen it. I also don't really plan to go see it. And also why that one time that I did respond to one of his quote-unquote responses, I did it with the video playing in front of me, and in front of Dr. Zach Hancock, who is, you know, an actual expert in the field that we were going over. Because unlike Sal, I like to bring on experts, like actual real experts who are actively doing research in the field he's talking about. Because, yeah.
And they're not just assuming a conclusion and trying to prove it right. They're letting the evidence lead them to the conclusions.
Weird.
It's like science, you know?
Also,
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I'm glad that Vagri got the membership from Savage Cobra Official, because just today Vagri was telling me in the Discord, like, oh, my membership ran out, so I can't watch the new early access videos, and eventually I'm going to be booted from the server. And I was like, well, maybe you'll get another membership. Yep, maybe. So there you go. All right, so now Dan Biddle loves this PaleoDB website that I just linked and pinned.
I mean, it is cool.
And yeah, I was just about to say, I do too. This website is amazing, and if you ever want to look at it, you can type in like age ranges, stratigraphic ranges. You can type in different taxa. You can say like, okay, I want to find only cnidarians from the Paleogene, and you can just look at where all of them have been found. It's an amazing, cool thing to just look around in. But Dan doesn't like to explain what's on screen. And so this is just all of the Cretaceous fossil sites in the world, but cropped, right? So obviously, you know, there's Australia, Canada, most of Russia, China, India, basically anything east of like Iran is cut off. So anyway, here we go.
The fossil record, but we have billions of dead things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth. Every single one of these dots that you see up on your screen is not just a fossil find, but a fossil bed. Most of them are mega.
No, that's not always true.
Can I call big number therefore God for bingo?
Yeah, sure.
Because that's what that felt like. Billions of animals. It's like, bruh.
Seems reasonable. So by the way, some of these are fossil beds, but not all of them, right? This is literally just what happens when you filter to just Cretaceous. And what that means is, if someone found a single fossil in some location, right? Like we've got, what is this down here? Like the Azores? Is that what's down there? Help me out with my Atlantic.
Yeah.
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 That Azores fossil
the Canaries are further up.
Yeah, the Canaries where there are no dots. Take that, Canaries. You don't have any Cretaceous fossils. Get wrecked. But also, keep up with your whole whistling language, because that's really cool.
Yes. And also try not to die in the volcanoes.
Yeah. Or become completely assimilated into Spanish culture.
Yeah.
Which is also happening. Anyway, yeah, so that little Azores dot is probably just one fossil. In fact, I can zoom in on my version here of PaleoDB. And, oh, actually, it turns out that one dot is actually 3 different locations. Each of which is a couple areas. Let's see. Yeah, so there's the Moro Formation, and that one dot on the Azores is actually, let's see, 2, 6, 7 fossils. 7. In 3 slightly different locations, all on one island. I wouldn't call that a fossil bed. I don't know about you guys.
Like a
So it's a fossil doggy bed. We'll call it that. It's small, but for like a chihuahua.
fossil palette.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So yeah, he's just not accurately describing what PaleoDB does.
Bed. So you can see the ones in the middle of America there, but each one of these green dots represents a huge fossil find. In most cases,
No. Some of them represent literally one fossil. And also, I love that big fossil zone in the middle there. You know what that is? That's the Western Interior Seaway. Which, yeah, no kidding. A shallow continental ocean has a bunch of fossils. Who'da thunk?
Go figure.
with thousands and thousands of fossils. Where did they all come from? What mechanisms caused them to be there?
Where did they go?
Where did they come
Cotton Eye
from?
Joe.
Exactly. So the mechanisms that cause them to be there are things like deposition.
Wait. Delane says fossil air mattress.
Ooh, there you go. Don't
Or
put your
Goop
fossils...
3 says fossil Bed Bath & Beyond.
Man, I have the worst luck with air mattresses.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that thing patched.
We can go in the middle of America and we can see the Jurassic layers, the Morrison Formation, which is about a 700,000 square foot area.
Which, by the way, he did not show us any of the Jurassic fossils, which I thought was a little weird. But,
Yeah. Then we have all these
I guess.
Yeah.
layers laid down, and then we have the Cretaceous layers layered, heaped right on top of them. What on earth could bring up that much mud and stratify it in layers?
I mean,
It doesn't all happen at the same
oceans...
time, Daniel.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that he's just... Well, first I want to read this Savage Cobra official per se super chat, and then I'll get into that. Savage Cobra official per se for $2 says, "The great fossil ottoman of the Canaries." Nice.
Oh, good.
I have the best chat. I really do.
Guys are great.
Okay, so what? Okay, I'm trying to just formulate my thoughts here. Creationists have this problem where they do not have anything even approaching a coherent internal map of time in terms of deep time, right? Which I don't think most people do, but the difference is most people who don't won't then use that as a license to just try to spread nonsense on the basis of something they don't understand. So, if like the cashier at the grocery store who's like carding me on Monday for my beer so that I can, have a drink for Kent with Bent or whatever, doesn't know that like, there's hundreds of millions of years across the Phanerozoic, and that, it's a lot of time during which a lot of different stuff can happen. Like, whatever. That cashier probably isn't trying to spread disinformation across the internet. So, that's fine. But if you want to talk about this, you need to have an actual internal map of what's going on so that you don't have to make these silly statements. Because, basically, by saying, what could deposit this much mud, which it wasn't all mud, but whatever, we'll just take that as just sediment. He's just being silly with the word sediment. Well, the answer is mostly water, some of it's sand that was blown in the wind. Some of it's, ash that fell through the air. But yeah, the same thing that puts mud in places now. It just happened a lot for a long time. But he doesn't have that. He has this basic assumption that everyone is going to look at a thing, even something as big as an entire stratigraphic column spread across an entire continent, and say that one thing had to happen at one time in one event. Otherwise, it would be different things. But That's not how the world works.
Yeah, that's silly.
Yeah. But that's the internal bias that he's got. And so he just assumes that that's how everyone's going to treat it. And the thing is, with his audience, he might be right about that.
Here we have Dinosaur National Monument.
I was going to say, Scott Duke in the chat says, well, he'd know if his PhD were in a field related to paleontology in any way.
Yeah, instead of, what was it?
How about that?
Industrial organizational psychology? Which I still...
What even?
If anyone here actually knows what that is, please let me know. Because those words sound made up to me.
That just sounds fake. Yeah, in that combination, that just sounds fake.
But here's the other thing, right? Like, I have a friend of mine who does this, like, business consulting stuff. And half the things that she says sound fake. But I'm pretty sure they're not, because she's actually getting paid to do this stuff. By, like,
just
real
because you're
companies.
getting paid to do it.
Yeah, but, like, she's getting pretty highly paid by companies that don't have to pay her if she's not doing anything, right? And, like... I
mean... Anyway, I'm not going to go off on a tangent about how the corporate world is nonsensical sometimes, or most of the time. But
that is true, too. But, like, I don't know.
In Utah, same thing. We could fly a helicopter through that ravine. Huge layers. We have a lot of erosional channels that are here, but a lot of flood layers that were laid down there. We have...
You got to argue for the flood, man. You can't just say they're flood layers if you haven't argued for it. And the thing is...
Hey, Dapper.
Yep, sorry.
What types of rock are in those layers that you just eyeballing right now?
So just eyeballing is a little tough, but given what I know about the Dinosaur National Monument, there's going to be a fair bit of some, like... there's going to be some sandstone. A lot of it is going to be, like, shallow sea sandstone that's coming in from, like, various sea transgressions through the middle of North America before the formation of the Rockies. A lot of it's going to be like tidal or intercoastal sort of sandstones. I'm sure there's also going to be some shale and some stuff in there.
I was going to say, is there shale? Is there limestone?
Yeah.
Is there, Okay, and are all of those rock types flood deposit rock types?
In fact, no, many of them cannot be deposited by floods.
And
by cannot, I mean like physically impossible, right? Yeah. Like... And when I say physically impossible, I'm saying like physically impossible in the sense of like, could you physically throw a baseball into orbit with your arm? No. Even if you were incredibly strong, you still couldn't do it. Because that requires a whole lot of different circumstances, which you can't just have here on the ground standing with a baseball. So, no. Let's see. Mark Smith says, I found an English Klingon translator. Is this correct? Bortash bir jablu de rech. Revenge is a dish best served cold. So first of all, yes, that is the typical translation of that saying. However, do be careful when you're using an online translator because it gets a few set phrases done correctly, but that's because they're actually set phrases that it's learned. When it's doing set phrases or when it's doing phrases that you're just coming up with like spontaneously, it usually does an incredibly bad job. Because basically all machine Klingon translation is based on the Bing translator, which is no longer actually supported, so it's no longer gathering data. Which means I think even if you correct it, it won't take that on board. Like I think the machine learning is completely off. And it is really, really bad. It got slightly better. For instance, it no longer puts cockroaches all over the place, which yeah, I don't know if you know that, but when the Bing Klingon translator first came on, its translations were full of the word cockroach for just all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I actually do know the technical reason for it, but it takes a while to explain, and it doesn't really matter. Just know that at first it just put the word cockroach all over the place, which is also the word for beetle, but like whatever. But yeah, it's very iffy. But in a few set phrases, it actually works out well. Like I think it could probably do like make your blood scream well too, because it's a common Klingon toast, which actually came up in the most recent episode of Star Trek on Strange New Worlds.
Oh,
yeah. There was a Klingon captain who offered that as a toast in sort of like the end part of the final act. And yeah, no, it was neat. It was nice, especially since a lot of the Klingon in that episode was like, oh, it's an obscure dialect, which basically just means like we didn't want to hire translators for this episode. Okay.
Hey, at least it's way better than the Klingon in the first couple episodes of Enterprise, where he's just like, He's
Oh,
just
yeah.
yelling sounds.
Oh, yeah, that was nonsense. There's also that...
And you're like, what is going on?
So there's that episode where, like, there's the Klingons who are raiding this human outpost every once in a while. They tried a little bit there, but, like, they got the grammar just slightly off. Like, you know which episode I'm talking about of Enterprise?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, there's this
I think
one...
so.
They tried. Like, they clearly used the Klingon dictionary in that episode to get some actual Klingon in there. But the one that always stuck out to me the most was, at one point, the captain of this rogue Klingon ship says, "Beam me up," but then his entire party gets beamed up because no one bothered to check whether or not the prefix they used was for a first-person singular or first-person plural object.
Yeah.
So he said, "Beam me up," and I'm like, oh, okay, he's going to go away, and then like the other guys are going to stay there to like guard the people they're oppressing or whatever. But then no, they all just beam up. And I was like, wait, what? And I realized, oh,
Yeah.
right, yeah, no one who actually speaks Klingon is on the writing team here. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, here we go.
Example after example all over the earth, but there's a couple interesting things I want you to notice. That in most cases where you look at dinosaurs and you study them using the field of what's called taphonomy, or studying the conditions in which fossils are buried.
He's getting that right. I'm actually impressed. Most creationists never even talk about taphonomy, so good job to Biddle.
We see that the dinosaurs are buried in a matrix of 3 products: ash, mud, and sand. So I had to ask
Hold up.
Go
Hold up. Ash.
Ash, yeah.
During a worldwide flood.
Now, okay, to be fair, most creationist flood models also involve heavy volcanism during the flood, so there would be a lot of ash. But there's a big problem with it. The ash that dinosaurs are buried in is almost entirely subaerial ash. And real quick, Mark Smith says, apparently ChatGPT knows Klingon. Yeah, it says it does. It says it does. And if you ask it very simple questions in Klingon, it will respond kind of appropriately. But I've tested its alleged knowledge of Klingon, and it doesn't know Klingon.
Not great. Yeah.
Yeah. It also doesn't know that there's a Jewish Power Ranger.
To be fair, most people probably didn't know there's a Jewish Power Ranger.
That's true. Yeah, like I asked it that at one point because I was like, "What does it actually know?" And it's like, "Oh no, Power Rangers usually don't discuss their personal, like, religious or ethnic identities," which is true. They generally don't. But this guy did say, "Oh, I'm Jewish," which I think is a pretty good indication that he's Jewish.
myself, what huge cataclysmic process could take and bury dinosaurs in hundreds of feet of mud, under hundreds of feet of mud, in a matrix of ash, mud, and sand.
See, there's more problems. Okay, so some of the areas most associated with ash mixed into sandstone or mudstone are actually the Morrison Formation, right? Which is a Jurassic formation in North America. And it's one of the places that he likes to talk about because for some reason we're talking about the Hell Creek Formation, but the Hell Creek is actually not that ashy. But also, I think at some point he likes to talk about the Brushy Basin member, which is a member of the Morrison. And it is, in fact, fairly ashy, but it's not actually all the way up to getting to even be quite tuffaceous. So, and Thomas Grohl says, is he a Power Ranger canonically Jewish actor? I think you mean is the actor Jewish. I don't know.
He's asking, is the character or the actor?
Oh, the character is Jewish. I don't know about the actor.
And yes, Ugly German Truce, I think most people know that Gal Gadot is Israeli. But people might not be as familiar with the fact that Linda Carter married a Jewish man. So I don't think she converted, but she is very proud of supporting him and so forth. So
I did not know that.
oh, there you go. Today you learned.
Yeah. Oh, in case you're wondering which Ranger it is, it's the SPD Green Ranger. So, whose name is I want to say Trip.
And he
Bridge.
Ugly German Truth says he was talking about my avatar, but also yes, I am dressed as Wonder Woman, and I happen to be Jewish. So there you go.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it's Bridge Carson. Yeah, and I don't know what the actor is. But anyway, after someone said it's like Christmas, he said, I'm Jewish, so maybe Hanukkah. And that was it. That was the whole. It was just a gag, but as far as I'm
Just a
concerned,
throwaway line, yeah.
yeah. Also, he really liked toast and butter, but he couldn't say butter without
combo.
making a particular like hand motion. It was weird.
Those three
Lizzie
products.
says, wait, they made the Jewish Ranger the color of money. Oh, great.
I don't think that was intentional.
I don't think it was that deep. Yeah, but
Yeah. I mean, you gotta remember, this is the franchise that, like, didn't notice until almost a year in that they'd made the Black Ranger black and they'd made the Asian Ranger yellow.
Sir Equinox notes that Gal Gadot was in the Israeli army and she taught self-defense. Yeah, because it's legally required for everybody that is a citizen
If you're
to
not...
serve in the IDF, but
Yeah, if you're not in the
can be a
IDF, you're in
conscientious
prison.
objector and you basically just go to jail for a year and that's it.
Yeah. Which is also what happens to the Jehovah's Witnesses in basically any country with mandatory military service.
Mhm.
And actually, they're the reason that conscientious objection is a thing in the United States, even during drafts. Which, while I don't have a lot of nice things to say about the Jehovah's Witnesses, I'll say I really do appreciate that they got that act done, because I am very, very much opposed to the draft, and I'm a big fan of anything that lets people legally escape slavery, which is what the draft is. And you say, well, it's not permanent. Yeah, slavery doesn't have to be. It's all about the consent. Did you consent to being drafted? No, you didn't? Okay.
All right. And yeah, I'm with Pibble Punk on this one.
What did Pibblepunk say?
Settler colonialism and Zionism and that. Nah, we don't do that here.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to say that anyone who ever served in the IDF is automatically bad for the rest of their life. People can, people can change.
I mean, that's why there's an entire organization of former Israeli soldiers who are talking about the awful things that they had to do. It's called breaking the silence.
I have not heard Gal Gadot say anything to that effect. So
she can't even bring herself to say the word Palestine. She just does the same thing most Israelis do and go, our neighbors.
Oh.
They won't even say the word Palestine. It's so funny. It's like they'll implode.
Goodness. All right, we're going to head to it. Because technically we're here for creationism and not for...
Yes, we're here for creationism, not for this.
Not any other product. And I'm going to show you the mechanisms of Noah's flood.
Oh, and the Screen Geek just gifted a Dapper Dinosaur membership to Richard Taylor. So everybody, send tetrapod emojis and Cecil tunicates. No pelagic tunicates. No, don't.
That's right, Ink Boy. You got the right idea.
Oh my goodness, Ink Boy. I should totally
my
just
children
hide you on the channel. This is unacceptable.
I will unhide them.
I didn't actually hide them. I said I should, and then I didn't.
If you did, I would unhide them.
That's fair.
Today, that are responsible for that. So there we can see by scale, we have a couple of cars. We can see these huge stratified layers.
That is not how you do scale, my dude.
Yeah, that's not how you Americans will do anything to avoid using the metric system.
Even so, like, okay, here's the thing, right? If you want to put something in for scale, that's fine, right? You want to put in like a coin for scale or even a car for scale. But the things have to be adjacent to each other.
Yeah,
just being in frame together.
How far away is the car from the base of the mountain? Like, what?
Exactly. I don't know. Who knows? How far away is that man standing there on the bottom left from any of that stuff?
How tall is the man? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
What?
That's not how you do for scale. It's just okay. And here's the thing: I'm very confident that the person who took the picture did not include those people in those cars for scale. That's just what was there when they took the picture. So I'm not blaming the photographer, but like when Dr. Biddle says for scale, it's like, come on, man.
I can't. But Nee says banana for scale.
Oh, and look, when you go off to the right with those other ones, it's like, that's even farther away. But who knows how far away it is? Because for one thing, it looks like this was taken with a wide-angle lens, which is going to distort everything.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness. Savage Cobra official per se for $2 says, would there happen to be cracks behind those cars? For those of you who don't get that, that's a reference to the fact that Andrew Snelling has been known to hide cracks that he says don't exist in folded strata by just putting people in front of them in the picture he took in front of it. Which is just like...
He's literally that meme where it's like, I pretend I do not see it.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, you know what? I kind of want to do a meme where I put like a big old fracture in some folded strata. And I want to use the it's a smoothie meme.
Ah,
Hey, what you got there? Smoothie. Big old crack in the folded strata that he says doesn't exist. Okay, here we go.
That is in the Hell Creek Formation, where we find a ton of dinosaurs.
I mean, that's true.
But the interesting thing is, a lot of these sites have bentonite, huge piles of ash, more ash than we can even fathom.
bentonite. Is that made out of bent?
We should ask. Bent, if you're in the chat, confirm or deny, is bentonite made of bent? And does it play
Or
sludge
is it
metal?
bent this morning? Because that's bent tonight and bent this morning.
Oh, right.
Ah,
That's not,
you guys.
I mean... The Screen Geek for €5 says, there's a Cecil Tunicate emoji now? I love this channel. Don't forget to hit like, everybody. Much love to Vishanti. And yes, there is a
Thanks.
Cecil Tunicate emoji now. I will put some in the chat just to display. They're good, hardworking, God-fearing,
Dutch character.
Patriotic. The Dutch thing is just some kind of weird slander based on their coloration. Tunicates.
Is that not the Dutch flag? I'm just saying.
No, it's not. The Dutch flag has this... It's like a rectangle, and they're not rectangular.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
But also, I have to answer with pelagic tunicates, because you're the face and I'm the heel.
Okay, we're gonna hit play.
These dinosaurs are buried in these 3 different products. What on earth could do that?
Like an ocean, mostly? So what is the Hell Creek Formation specifically, right? So there's the Lance Formation, which is the larger bit, and then the Lance Formation kind of turns into the Hell Creek Formation. And he's actually technically wrong about this being the Hell Creek. It's mostly what he's talking about is like the rest of the Lance Formation. But like, it's made by things like braided channels, wetlands, and shallow seas. Like, yeah, I don't know what the problem is supposed to be. So, yeah.
Fish and turtles get buried with dinosaurs. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
This is gonna be real dumb.
Oh, and he's gonna say mammals couldn't... If he says that mammals shouldn't be in there because they didn't evolve until after the dinosaurs, because that's what science is supposed to say, I might lose it.
For example, if you go to Dinosaur Provincial Park in Canada, we see a huge area there. You can look for a span of 14 miles. I've been to this location, 14 miles. And as far as you can see, you see these hoodoos, layered up mountain heaps of mud, where we find dinosaurs buried with mammals and fish and oysters and clams and all kinds of different species, fish, turtles, mammals, amphibians, all buried together.
Yeah, sounds like a coastal environment. Which, you know, it is.
So you're looking out over this 14-mile expanse. There's tens of thousands of dead ceratopsian dinosaurs, and there are herds upon herds of ceratopsian dinosaurs.
Which, again, he thinks we're all alive at the same time, like on the same day, to all die in the same flood. Which is one of the problems, right? When creationists are like, oh, we would expect to find billions of dead things all over the earth and rock layers laid down by water. It's like, yeah, you're right, you would. Billions would be a pretty good estimate. But what we actually find is like hundreds of trillions. That's a problem. You could not fit all the fossils that we have as just living things that were existing on Earth
At the
same time, right? Like, not even close. You just couldn't do it. And yet, there they are. And of course, also, most flood models don't account for literally every organism ever being a fossil, which means that it gets even worse when you consider the fact that fossilization is not guaranteed even under the flood model. So there would have had to be several times more animals and plants and whatnot.
I want to quote Delane here. Where are the people fossils if it was a flood?
Yeah,
and
there's that too.
Kent Hovind tries to go, well, you know, people tried to swim, so they swam around, but their bodies rotted. Like, no, if it's catastrophic, they're going to get buried in the same mudslides and ashfall and stuff like that all the other animals do, so...
Punk for $2 says, but Dapper, seashells on Everest, though.
Mountains don't move. They've always been that height.
I'm sure we'll get there. Yeah, that's one of the weird things with the whole flood model. Because remember, Dan Biddle thinks that the flood starts off with a bunch of tsunamis. Now, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that within the memory of everyone in my chat, there have been tsunamis here on Earth.
Yes,
Like,
several.
Yeah. And there were a bunch of human casualties, and there would have been more if not for modern technology that can do things like forecast where tsunamis are going to hit based on where seismic indicators indicate that oceanic earthquakes are. So, you know, people are getting like warnings.
Semi-recently ones in Indonesia kill thousands of people.
Yeah. So even today, with extra technology and warning that no one in the past would have gotten, thousands of people die in tsunamis. Also,
God gave them 120 years to build the ark and repent.
Yeah, but the whole point is that no one believed that. That's like the point of the story.
I know.
And also, humans love to settle near the coast because, you know, it's got things like fish, water. Yeah, it's a great place to live, is near the ocean or in
Weird
like...
how people need water and food and...
I know. What is wrong with them? They should go live on the top of mountains in the desert.
So weird that, like, the earliest societies that we know of on the planet happened near big old rivers.
Weird. So, again...
Probably just coincidence.
Humans should be some of the earliest terrestrial organisms buried in this flood model. They should be right there with, like, all those weird, like, carboniferous amphibians that creationists say were first buried. Because that's where humans live. Now, of course, it's also where things like crocodiles live, but we don't find them until well after that anyway, so the whole thing just doesn't make any sense. It's just... None of it adds up after, like, 30 seconds of thinking about it. But anyway, let's get a little bit more Biddle in, then we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back.
And you're looking over this area thinking, okay, well, if the dinosaurs are under 50 feet of mud or 100 feet of mud...
Usually not mud, because again, not mudstone, but okay.
Yeah.
Also, Azo64, who's been a... Sorry, goodness. I don't know why I developed a copyright before the show. Who's been a member for 7 months and is at the amulet level, says, keep up the great job. Well, thank you. That's the plan.
How much higher did the water have to be to deposit the creatures under 100 feet of mud?
Like 3 inches.
So it's like any time there's a mudslide, the top of the water has to be way higher than that. Like, that's not how mudslides work, my man.
Yeah, and most of this isn't mudslides either. Most of it's slow deposition.
Yeah.
Like, very little of this is high energy deposition. So the thing is that as mountains build up in one place and then shed sediment over to other places, that starts to build up over time. And then the continent itself can actually do things like subside. That's a thing that can happen. And so you can get large columns of deposits from, you know, just normal old river or oceanic deposition that then become airborne. And then currently, I want to point out, this area is undergoing uplift, which means that when you're up at this high elevation here looking at these Cretaceous rocks, they weren't as high in the air when they were laid down as they are now. Because again, remember, Dan Biddle has no internal map of deep time.
Nope.
He has no concept of how anything like this happens over time. For him, if you're at like, you know, I don't know, 3,000 meters in elevation, and you're looking at Cretaceous sandstone, and that sandstone was laid down at 3,000 meters. Because that's how high it is.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. No one in science actually thinks that, because the height of continents can go up and down.
Well, he'd know that if he actually had a degree that was related.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Screen Geek, who's been a member for 2 months at the tetrapod level, asks, is the tunicate emoji red, white, and blue on purpose? Yes, because the American flag doesn't map well on an emoji that size, so he made it Dutch.
Yes, unfortunately. It maps so poorly. It's just a blob. Yeah. It's just a pinkish, like, light... It's like pinkish powder blue blob. America, stop having so many damn stripes and so many damn stars. It's too many. 13, 50? What are you talking about? Like 4 maximum. Come on, guys.
And it wasn't even always 50. Like, you go back to the flags around the World War II era and they don't have 50. And it's...
Yeah, but
you know,
even when it was down to 13, they were arranged in a circle of tiny little stars, which doesn't help much. It's still just at this size gets turned into a blur. Have one big star.
Look, At least it's not like Portugal or Mexico that have big, super complicated designs in the center,
my
like
goodness.
Brazil or Spain, and it's just like, you can't see that one is that tiny.
Yeah, no, those are terrible. Don't put crests on your flags, guys. This is like flag design 101. Don't do it. It's a bad idea.
Vexillologist the world over are crying.
Starberry Vein, there we go, I said it, for $10. Is there a name for this fallacy that creationists are constantly doing where they point to the exception that maybe supports them, ignore the rule that doesn't? Example, dinosaur soft tissues. I don't know if there's a formal name for it. I mean, it's just cherry picking the data.
It's cherry picking and it's like special pleading. Because it's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, no, this one ad hoc explanation combined with this other ad hoc explanation, combined with this other ad hoc explanation accounts for all of these disparate things.
Yeah, when in fact,
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I would just call it mostly cherry picking. Special pleading in somewhat more specific circumstances would be, yeah, like sometimes it's special pleading, sometimes it's just cherry picking, and a lot of times it's both. But hey, if you want to create your own name for an informal creationist fallacy, I'm not going to stop you. In fact, if you do a good enough job, I might just use it, just like I adopted Trojan Swords, which I did not come up with. But,
I love that.
It is really good.
Sometimes I think about that, I'm like, yo, that is really clever.
It's so good. All right, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to go refresh my ice water. I'm going to, for a very short time, turn the AC back on, because what's the temperature out here today? My phone is like, oh, it's 7:09 a.m. It was very nice out. Like, yeah, okay, but what is it now? Yeah. It is coming up on 36 degrees.
What is that in freedom units?
Oh, so if you're not using communist units, that's 96.
Ugh,
Yeah.
that's too hot.
It's a good thing I'm not British, because apparently I'd already be dead. Because based on what I saw
How
on
did
the
they
news...
even colonize India? My god.
My favorite excuse was like, well, they weren't wearing bearskin hats when they did that. I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that the British...
No, but they were still wearing wool uniforms.
Wool
and
uniforms.
They had, like, munitions and supplies on their back. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's...
Ugh.
Maybe the Brits of today are weaker than the Brits of, like, the late 19th and early 20th century.
The advent of air conditioning has made us all weak.
Okay, so let's see. We've got Lithuanian or Kingdom of Zulu flags from Inkboy, who's for €2 says, which flag is better, Lithuanian or Kingdom of Zulu? Let me...
Me hastily Googling.
Let's see. I mean, there's a couple... Is it one that just has the 4 colors that are arranged like a square? I mean, they're almost exactly identical. So, like, they're basically the same. So, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Lithuania is just another tricolor, which is cool. Look, here's the thing. Tricolor flags are actually pretty good. I just get bored with them. I think I actually prefer the Zulu Kingdom flag because I like their bright yellow as opposed to, like, the sort of, like, ambery... Yeah, that's like a mustardy, muted... Yeah, I like the bright yellow. But, hey, better. Sorry, Lithuanians. Look, I have nothing against Lithuania. I just think that, the Zulu Kingdom wore it a little bit better. It's okay. And also, you don't have to agree with me. If you prefer mustard, that's fine. I actually quite like mustard. Also, Strawberry Vein for $2. Strawberry Vein for $2 says, challenge accepted. Benton Tunicate for £50. Thank you very much. Says, making it rain for you, Dapper. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Astronaut Kamimi for $10 says, I think we should name the creationist fallacy of picking out exceptions after that one guy who sent 2 young samples to be dated, got wildly bad dates, and called it a day. Oh, that would be Steve Austin. Yeah. So you could call that the Austin fallacy. Yeah, at least Steve Austin is the one who's most famous for that in my brain. Specifically, I'm sorry, ugly German truce. Are you a tricolored flag haver who's telling me what I can get bored at? Okay, lol. That's specifically why he's there, right? He's like, oh, being mean to tricolor flags. Like, mine. How dare you? I mean, look, listen. I actually like tricolor flags because they're simple and they're usually easily recognizable, right? Because some important, like, design ideals for a flag. One, make it simple enough that a child can recognizably draw your flag. Which means America on the border there. Mexico?
Yeah.
No, you failed.
They started with a tricolor and then went, no, we're going to put a real super complicated design in there. Like, let's throw in a snake being eaten by an eagle on top of a cactus on a lake. Like,
and like, look, that's actually using some of like the local native writing systems, symbolism there. And I get that, and that's cool. But that's what you put on a crest. Have a national crest. And have a separate flag.
Like, if it was just the cactus, or just the eagle, or just the serpent, it would be like, any of those things by themselves would be like a really cool, just simplified icon in the center, but like, they went whole, like, fully out.
Yeah.
Like, alright.
So another one is, your flag should still be recognizably like a flag with roughly like whose it is in black and white. Now with a preponderance of tricolor flags, it's a little iffy, right? But still, if you were to watch a black and white movie where your country's flag is flying, people should be reasonably able to identify it as your flag.
Like Canada, that's a super great design.
Yeah, Canada.
I actually really like their flag. Very simple, very like clear at any size.
Yeah, Canada's flag is better than the United States. Yeah, that's another one. Is you should be able to shrink it down to basically a lapel pin and still have it be recognizable from like normal talking distance.
Yeah.
And also no text. Just don't do text. Don't do it.
Hashtag Brazil.
I mean, look, there's so many, like, half the flags in the Middle East. And the thing is that I hate is like half the flags in the Middle East not only have text, but have text that's specifically calligraphy in some guy's handwriting.
Yeah, it's very
like, come on, dude.
Like, goodness gracious.
Like the previous Iraqi flag specifically had the Shahada in Saddam Hussein's handwriting. And like, come on, how?
His handwriting specifically. It's like,
how? Why would you do this? This is terrible. And I'm not...
Well, because he's an egomaniac. But
well, yeah, but like separate from how terrible Saddam Hussein is, terrible choice for flag design. Don't do that. Mark Smith for $2 says CPT equals Earth Go Boom, HPT, which is hydroplate. Earth Go Foosh. Yeah.
Foosh.
Yeah. HPT is the kind of thing that just vaporizes the entire planet and makes it go like Alderaan in Star Wars. Just bye, no more planet. TC the Unbeliever for $10 says a gang was Answers in Genesis who chose to make their science their nemesis. Through all BS brokers, a poke full of pokers, at least a step up from polemicist. Nice. I didn't initially start with the cadence there properly. Sorry about that. Pipplepone for $2 says this is why this 20 minutes is set to last 2 hours. Yeah. Okay. Look. We're taking a quick
Getting
break.
off on a tangent, like a 15-minute tangent about vexillology.
Okay, we're taking an intermission now. I'll be right back.
Okay, we're gonna go.
Okay, we are back. Sorry, the AC is going to be on for just a couple minutes. So I think it just went off anyway. Vishanti is back too. We've got a couple things to read. Yes. Benthic Tunicate says, AIGA is Agbe of Ixday. Yes, that is true, and that was for £2. Thank you very much. Also, Sinedra has gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships, which went to Nee Tesla Ranger, Trail Mix, Pen and Stitch, and Tyler West. And also, Benthic Tunicate has gifted 5 more Dapper Dinosaur memberships, going to Trudy Stubbs, Shazammy Whammy, Jillian Wren, H-Plan, Cliff Reynolds, and Kaiser. Why does that feel like that was 6 names? Oh, because Jillian Wren isn't in that list. That's just me reading and not noticing who was actually gifted memberships. Because I'm good at this job, guys. I'm very, very good at this. Sorry. Thank you very much for all the generosity. It really helps a lot. Okay. Now that we are back from the break, real quick, I just want to remind everybody that it is, in fact, things like these super chats, memberships, Patreon, all that stuff that helps the channel keep going, right? I've said it many times, this channel would not be able to do 3 videos a week, or, you know, like 6 videos last week, or whatever it was, without support. And the ad revenue on the channel that's directly from ads or from people who have, what does YouTube call their subscription service now? YouTube, it used to be YouTube Red, and now it's whatever they call that. The actual amount of money that
premium
I get
or something like that.
Yeah, I think premium is what it was. It's probably a good idea that they didn't keep it as YouTube Red, because that sounds way too much like RedTube, and then like you'll definitely end up in the wrong spot if you look for RedTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, that comes out to like 14% or so of the channel, and it basically might as well not exist. Not that I'm going to get rid of it, but yeah. So it is almost entirely supported by people like you. It's kind of like PBS, you know? You get a bunch of like Republicans like, oh, we should defund PBS. And it's like, dude, that's like 5% of their budget. It's like almost entirely based on direct support from viewers. So I want to say thank you very much. And if you would like to support the channel and you're currently not, but you're interested, there's a number of ways you can join the channel with a button below. It says join channel. That starts at $1.99 a month. If you want to go to Patreon, either way you get access to like 5 months worth of content. On Patreon, it starts at $1 a month, or you can get a 12% discount for going annually instead of monthly. And if none of that works, you don't want to do like a pledge or a monthly or an annual thing, there's also a merch store. And if none of that's right, if you just don't have it in your budget, or you're just not interested in supporting financially, that's perfectly fine. Please like this video, share it with people you think will like to view it, and also put in comments on all my videos, because that helps me with the algorithm, which again, hasn't been treating me very well lately, which is very frustrating. Benthic Tunicate for £5 says, I, Dapper Dinosaur. I don't know why you're calling yourself Dapper Dinosaur, Benthic Tunicate. I'll help you out. Benthic Tunicate, who is apparently confused about who they are, says, I, Benthic Tunicate, B2022, can confirm that whilst turtles are the best tetrapod, pelagic tunicates are the best chordate. That's a weird position for you to take, Benthic Tunicate, but I mean, I can't stop you. All right, here we go.
It's then you do quickly gain the scale of what happened during Noah's flood.
Dude, you said 14 miles. That does not read as worldwide flood to me, but okay, cool. I like it. Also, species-wide extinction as opposed to not extinction is what I'm getting here. Extinction is when a species goes away. You can say like, oh, it's locally extinct, but then that just means it's not really extinct. It's just no longer where you are.
We also have species-wide extinction right in the middle of America. Here.
Yeah?
Okay.
I now kind of wish we were doing the drinking game, because I would take a big old drink for that. Ugh.
Here's a picture of every dinosaur species that's been found in the Morrison Formation.
Tag the way that creationists think that dinosaurs live.
Right. Also, there's a whole lot of things in there that aren't dinosaurs, because I'm seeing a lot of pterosaurs.
Every single one of those creatures are buried in those layers, killed at the same time.
No. My
No,
goodness.
none of that.
Look, you can say that I think they were killed at the same time. Sure, whatever. But let's not pretend that that's what everyone thinks. No one is trying to explain how all these animals were killed at the same time except for you. Because no one else thinks that. And by you, in this case, I just mean young Earth creationists broadly, not specifically Dan Biddle.
Dozens and dozens and dozens of different types of species of dinosaurs, all buried in the same area, the same time. So what in the world could do this? What could, if the Noah's flood was a worldwide event, we would expect to find dinosaurs that died at the same time, died together, and in the similar regions.
Which is not actually what we see. Just want to point that out, right? In fact, one of my favorite papers about dinosaur taphonomy for the purposes of this channel, not for the purposes of it being a great paper, but just for the purposes of this channel, is a paper by one Summer Rose Weeks, who submitted this paper for her doctoral thesis in Loma Linda University. Vishanti, are you familiar with Loma Linda University?
Yeah, that's near me.
What is significant about it in terms of, say, geology or evolution? Do you know?
I would rather you tell the audience because I don't want to misspeak.
It is a Seventh-day Adventist school. And I don't know if you know, but the Seventh-day Adventists are the ones who basically invented young Earth creationism.
Ooh.
And their science departments are explicitly young Earth creationist science departments. So you might be wondering, well, okay, Dapper, why do you like this paper by a young Earth creationist from a young Earth creationist school approved of by a bunch of young Earth creationist professors so much? Well, hypothetical audience member, I'm glad you asked. Because what I love about it is that it talks about a bone bed of Edmontosaurus, if I remember correctly. It doesn't actually matter which dinosaur it is. But anyway, a bone bed of dinosaurs that are in a graded bedding where the largest bones are at the bottom, and the higher up you go, the smaller the bones get. And don't worry, Pillowpunk and Savage Cobra official per se, I will be getting to your super chats. And the reason I love it so much is because in describing the taphonomy of this, I'm going to go with Miss Weeks, just because I'm pretty sure that someone named Summer going to Loma Linda University is probably going to be using feminine pronouns. Just out on a limb there. Miss Weeks, if you would prefer not to be called Miss Weeks, or if you've gotten your PhD or something, your Dr. Weeks, feel free to let me know in the comments. I will amend any statements about that. Anyway, Miss Weeks found, and this was approved of by a bunch of young Earth creationist professors, that in order for this to happen, these dinosaurs would have had to sit out rotting for a considerable amount of time, to the point that their bones were no longer connected to each other significantly. And then a landslide had to occur, because she could not account for this formation with just a flood, because the area is characterized by tektites, which are rocks that are deposited as a result of tectonic activity, i.e. earthquakes. So there was this earthquake, and this unconsolidated sediment washed into a gully. Now, she does say that there was probably, water going on too, so this probably was like a swampy area or something. And that the reason that they're so finely graded is because of the action of this tectonic activity. Which means in this paper, this young Earth creationist is confirming that these dinosaurs absolutely did not form in the process of one big flood. This required months of decomposition, followed by earthquakes that were after the decomposition, followed by lithification after all of that, after they got washed into whatever gully it was. That's why I love it so much, because even the young Earth creationists ultimately know that this isn't true, right? They write papers that contradict their own claims, and then they're like, yeah, I guess that's fine. Now, Pillowpunk for $2 says, pounds of dinos are what made all the oil, right? No, in fact, oil is almost entirely made of plant matter, which I'm pretty sure you knew. Cyrus Cobra official per se for $2 says, find me the bison with Tyrannosaur bite marks, Dan. Yeah, that's a good question too. Because the thing is, we have Tyrannosaurus Rex bite marks on things like ceratopsians and hadrosaurs from the Lance Formation or the Hell Creek, right? Like, that's a thing we have. We have both bite marks that look like they've had some healing, which means that they were not the cause of death, nor were they peri or post-mortem. We also have marks that were almost certainly post-mortem, indicating scavenge marks, right? And yet, we have other animals like bison, like the American bison. Probably would have done just fine in lots of areas in like the late Cretaceous. Sure, it would have had to worry about more predators, but bison are pretty formidable animals, even against large predators. Like, you don't see a whole lot of like cougars or mountain lions or whatever you call that animal just successfully attacking a herd of bison. And I actually don't think the T-Rex would have that much more success. Because a big old herd of bison is pretty scary. Why don't they have any bite marks from T-Rex in the fossil record? We have plenty of bison fossils. Oddly enough, according to AIG though, they're all post-flood. Where were the pre-flood bison? Where do they live? It's all very curious. Heather Kuhn says, lol, types of species. So what I think... Oh my goodness, the dogs. I think what he probably would be meaning if he were using more formal language would be like taxonomically diverse groups of species, right? Which would be a fair thing to say, right? Like there's turtles, there's hadrosaurs, there's crocodilians, there's like champhosaurs, there's all sorts of different groupings. And I think that is his sort of somewhat childish way of trying to express that thought. Benthic Tunicate B2022 for £5 says, the Earth creationist take on the fossil record seems to boil down to dead things exist, therefore flood. Such a silly take. Yeah, that does seem to be about as deep as they go into it. Some of them go a little bit deeper with their ideas like ecological zonation and hydrodynamic sorting. The problem is that both of those fall apart almost immediately on the most cursory of examinations. But anyway, we're going to hit play, and yeah.
So let's study to see if this is actually true. If you go in and look at all the hadrosaurs, so we have here all the hadrosaur fossils that have been found in the...
Hold on. Is that all the hadrosaur fossils that have been found in that area? I'm going to refresh PaleoDB Navigator so it refreshes any filters that I might have had. And we're going to go to Hadrosauria. Oh, no, because I misspelled it. I said Hardrosauria, which is not a thing. There we go. Taxa, Hadrosauria. Oh, let's get rid of this filter. I can't actually get it to display that map, but it's also displaying a map that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. What is he actually getting with this? So it's not Hadrosauria. Maybe it's Ornithopoda. Let's try that. All right, and it looks like he's getting just the Jurassic. Nope, he's got a wider range than just Ornithopoda. That's freaking weird. All right, so not Ornithopoda. Let's try Neornithischia. Nope. I have no idea what actually he put into PaleoDB to generate that map because I can't generate it. That is so weird. Hadrosaur. Let's try Hadrosauriformes. Nope. That doesn't do it either. That's so weird. Hadrosauroidea? Nope, that doesn't do it either. This is bizarre. What did he actually type in
what
there?
map are you using, Dan?
Seriously, like, I cannot generate this map. Because it's all Jurassic, right? Because it's all got those... Oh, wait, no, maybe it's not. Let's find out.
Middle of America, I'm going to play that.
Yeah, no, that's all... Oh, maybe it's this map that's coming up here. Maybe he means this.
That clip again. You can go up and see. Here we go.
Okay, so that greenish map, that might actually work. So if I don't go to just Jurassic, and I go to Hadrosauria... Because, like, look, he might not actually be talking about the exact thing that was on the map at the time. Yeah, I think the Hadrosauria map is broken. That's weird. I don't know. I don't know what he did to get that map. Anyway, Strawberry Vein for $10 says, first suggestion for new fallacy, Arc Discounter. I love that name. Because we found this one thing that totally saves us. 99.9999% of the life died. But we don't care about any of those guys. They were evil anyway. Yeah, the arc has a really low success rating, like if you take Young Earth creationism seriously. God's like, oh, I made this lifeboat.
Everything goes extinct, like almost immediately.
Yeah, it was just right afterwards. And there's Gada, who I just imagine is like, damn it, that plan did not work out as I was hoping. Well, better luck next time, me. Oh, man. Yeah, the Young Earth creationist God, like, if you actually believe in that God, he would be such a weird God to believe in. Like,
that just
so incompetent.
I'm gonna save all these people and all this stuff, except 99% of it just dies immediately afterward.
Yeah, right away. Oh, man. And then for some reason you think that making people speak other languages is gonna, like, dissuade them from working together? Like, my guy, let me introduce you to this place called the American South, near the border with Mexico, where lots of people who speak different languages manage to work together just fine. In fact, we found out in Florida what happens when you decide that they shouldn't work together, which is all of your construction grinds to a halt.
Your economy is gonna get wrecked.
Yeah. No crops harvested, no construction, all the day workers are gone. Whoops.
I thought they were taking your gerbs.
Yeah.
Then go do the gerbs.
Yeah, hey, how come not all of those, those white Americans are stepping up to go be day laborers? Weird.
Don't they want their gerbs?
You don't want to go pick strawberries in the hot sun for like 12 hours for $10?
And get paid like, $10-15.
So,
Weird.
hadrosaurs, the whole family, all those dots are where the hadrosaurs have been found.
Those aren't the same maps, Dan. What is going on? I hate his use of PaleoDB because not only does he use it dishonestly, he doesn't tell me how to generate his maps, and I try so often to do it.
We're trying to fact check you, my man.
Yeah, and the only conclusion I can come up to is like he's just not typing in the thing that he's telling you he is. Well, he didn't say Hadrosauria, but then he said it was a family. Maybe if I type in Hadrosauridae, that might work. Nope, because that's a specifically Cretaceous family, and it also doesn't show up the little ones in Massachusetts that he had, which makes sense because, I mean, Massachusetts doesn't have Cretaceous strata in it. All that was scraped away by the glaciers.
Jillian Wren asked, how many languages are spoken within a 5-mile radius of me? Okay, well, English, Spanish, Korean, Vietnamese, probably... Oh, I definitely know there's Romanian. I think there's some Filipinos, because there's a market, like, just up the street. So that's at least 6. There's probably some Thai, but I don't spend a lot of time in that part of town. That's just within 5 miles.
Within 5 miles, so I know English and Spanish. There's definitely some Chinese and some Japanese because I know of such restaurants near, like within that radius, staffed by people who are from those countries. I didn't even include Chinese and Japanese, so you could probably put those on there. So state. I can't imagine that there aren't any O'odham speakers within that radius because I'm like right on the border of the American side of the O'odham nation. I mean, there's probably a bunch of others. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some people who speak Navajo that are within that area because they don't all live within the borders of the Navajo Nation. Or Dine, if you'd prefer. They'd probably prefer it. Okay.
The blue layers are the Jurassic layers. The Cretaceous layers are piled on top.
Yeah, but none of them match Hadrosauria or Hadrosauridae or freaking Hadrosauroidea or Hadrosauriformes or even Ornithopoda, the larger group that includes hadrosaurs, or even Neornithischia, which is basically like everything that isn't like a heterodontosaurid that's an ornithischian. What did you use to generate this,
what
Dan?
What criteria are you using?
And she's circling these areas. Look at where all these circles are. Circles of what, Dan? I can't tell because I'm trying to type in the things you're saying, and it's not working.
What, the Alabama and the little black belt? Because that's like super rich in fertile soil.
That's actually because of the stratigraphy there.
Yeah.
Yep. It's actually pretty cool. You can look at a stratigraphic map, You can look at a demographic map as well as an agricultural map, and you will see all of this stuff lining up.
That's one of my favorite threads, by the way, showing how the topography influenced our economy. It's amazing.
Yeah. All right, let's see what we got, Dan.
And then we have some of the dinosaurs on the downslopes there.
Those are just coastlines, Dan. And the way that we can tell, right, is because we have intertidal deposits, right? And also where he's circling in Texas, there are areas there where there are entire mountains made of coral. Mountains of coral. You can't deposit a mountain of coral, a literal mountain. I'm not being facetious here. This isn't just like, oh, it's a bunch of coral. I mean an actual, in the landscape, you can see it from a distance, mountain called Mount whatever, made of coral. That doesn't happen in a flood in a year, Dan. Coral can't grow that fast. Well, maybe it was washed there. Except it's in situ. It starts on the bed of rock that it started growing on in the first place. So, good luck telling us how that's the downslope where the flood receded with its actual mountain of in-place coral.
Yeah.
The thing that really gets me is just how easy it is to just point out very basic facts about geography and geology. This completely debunked this, right? And then there's Dan just standing around here like, oh yeah, no, all from one flood. And I'm like, okay, what about these millions of things that couldn't possibly be the result of your flood? Not important. Okay, cool.
A massive fossil bed where all the hadrosaurs are found. Well, it's not just the...
All of their hadrosaurs. Man, this is so
I couldn't even find that
frustrating.
map with looking at hadrosaurs. Is Hadrosauria...
What filters did you use, Daniel?
I think I did do Hadrosauria. Yeah, no, I can't. I still can't get it with Hadrosauria. I have no idea. Service Cobra official per se says, but have you considered that coral grew in a pocket dimension? I had not considered that, to be fair. I guess young Earth creationism is probably true. Time to pack it up, guys. From now on, this is going to be a biblical exegetics channel.
Yeah.
I think I'll probably start with what's a fun book? And by fun, I just mean like one that's actually like a good read. That like I think Ruth. Ruth is a good book, right?
I was gonna say I have wildly different answers than most people, so I'm not gonna make any suggestions.
Well, would you agree that Ruth is a good book?
I mean, it's got some good stuff in there.
I like Ruth. Yeah. Plus, it's the one where we find out that oh hey, I guess you can join the congregation of the Lord, but only if you're a woman from those various tribes that aren't supposed to be allowed to join the congregation of the Lord. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops.
There's a whole like midrash on that. Unsurprisingly.
Yeah. Song of Solomon. I'm probably not going to start with Song of Solomon. Yeah. Although,
if you read that book and you don't blush, then you're not really reading it.
Yeah. Although I gotta say, I would never describe breasts as being like fawns. That one always struck me as odd.
You're not Solomon.
That's true. I am not. Yeah. I've never yet used a ring to control demons to build me a temple. Which, no, that part's not in the Bible.
The hadrosaurs, it is all...
Oh my goodness.
That doesn't look like a hadrosaur to me. Am I wrong?
Okay, first of all, I was about to comment on this crazy little map he showed us, which we're going to try to get to. With the Dinosaur Peninsula, which is actually mostly just the interior seaway. It's mostly just an ocean. But he's calling it a Dinosaur Peninsula because lots of dinosaurs are found there. Which is the case because, yeah, dinosaurs can wash out to sea. And there's also some Jurassic stuff in there which wasn't a sea transgression, but it's also mostly, desert deposits, like wind-blown sand. So this whole thing is crazy. But then, yeah, he gets to this, where we're definitely not looking at a hadrosaur.
Hadrosaurs,
It's just like, that's not a hadrosaur. I'm not even that great at identifying dinosaurs. I'm like, that's not a hadrosaur.
Not only is that not a hadrosaur, that is specifically the Allosaurus from Ark Survival Evolved, the video game. Which, okay, look, I like Ark Survival Evolved. I think it's a fun game. However, it has notoriously inaccurate dinosaur reconstructions to the point that the devs came out and said, okay, look, these aren't the actual species from the fossil record. This isn't Allosaurus fragilis. This is a different species that's unique to our game that evolved from Allosaurus. That's why it looks like that.
Okay.
Just a pro tip. Don't use Ark Survival Evolved for your illustrations of actual Paleotaxa.
When you definitely know how dinosaurs work.
Yeah. Ark Survival Evolved, fun game, really bad for science communication. Although the dodos do make adorable cooing sounds. It's pretty great. Also, you can pick them up and throw them.
It is also the Allosaurus. Keep your eyes on all these blue dots here.
Okay,
Every
so he
one
did
of these.
admit that's an Allosaurus, but again, why are you telling us about hadrosaurs and then you don't show us an actual hadrosaur, man? Come on.
She's changing topics.
Gish Gallop.
Mm-hmm. Also, let's actually type in Allosaurus and see if it actually pops up this map. Which, by the way, if you guys want to play along at home, I did link and pin the link to this map. Okay, so Allosaurus, not Allosauroid, just Allosaurus, because that's what he said. And yes, it does actually pull up this map. Okay, so good. Pimplepunk for $2 says, Coral just loves growing in muddy floodwater. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, actually...
It loves the more contaminants you add to the water, the better.
Coral is so fragile.
I know.
Ridiculous. Like, how are you still alive at all?
Dude. Forrest Valkai put out a whole video on Coral today, and it's like, yeah, you could just look at them wrong and they die.
Yeah, Coral is ridiculous. It reminds me of a meme that I saw. You know the Doge meme where you got the one Doge that's all gigantic and muscular, and the other one who's like small and pathetic?
Oh, the Cheems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the big strong one has the head of a carboniferous amphibian super predator, and the other one is just a frog. And it's like on the left, it's like, carboniferous amphibians. I
sent you
rule the
this
world
one
with terror, and then the other one with the frog is like
pH too high.
pH too high, sad face. Like, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
pH too high.
That's the same thing with bacteria, you know? Out in the wild, they're like, oh, I live inside a boiling hot pool of acid in the lab. pH too low, I guess I die. Okay.
Yep.
These blue dots are where the Allosaurus species have been found.
I mean, Allosaurus fragilis, there's some arguments about other species of Allosaurus, but as far as I know, Allosaurus fragilis is still the only universally recognized species within that genus. But, okay.
We've got some down here, some in the middle. Keep your eyes on those dots, and I'll fly in the sauropods.
You'll fly them in, will ya?
This is just the fauna of the Morrison Formation. It was a deserty area with lots of Allosaurus and lots of sauropods. In fact, those two groups make up like 90 or something % of all the terrestrial vertebrate fossils in the entire formation. Now, part of that is because the Morrison Formation has a heavy taxonomic bias towards large-size fossils, so big bones and whatnot. But, okay, at least this isn't a video game sauropod.
Buried in the same place. Same time, same place.
No, not the same time. Look, if you're trying to... Here's the thing, right? You think, Dan, that they were buried at the same time. But in order to argue that you're right, you have to contend with the actual consensus that does not say that, right?
They're just wrong. Hashtag conspiracy.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's just affirming the consequent. That's all that's happening. Not affirming the consequent, just begging the question, sorry. You're assuming your conclusion in order to argue for your conclusion. You're just begging the question. It's a literal fallacy. That's all this has been so far.
Different creature. What about Stegosaurus? Same place, different creature.
Okay, on the left here, he is actually giving us his filters. That's good. Thank you, Dan. I don't know why you're selecting only Jurassic for Stegosaurus. There are definitely no non-Jurassic Stegosaurids, yeah, that's true, but even Stegosaurus. Also, iffy reconstruction for Stegosaurus, the feet are really bad, and the head is a bit big, and the neck is way too short, and it doesn't have that gular armor, but whatever.
And we fly in all three at the same time. What on earth could take the...
Fly, I mean, I like to imagine that Dan has like a helicopter full of fossils that he's sprinkling across the Midwest.
Yeah, it's like when they had to relocate all those beavers because they just could not stop being beavers. They're like, all right, we got to get you guys out of here. And they just airlifted a gajillion beavers halfway across the country. It's like,
Didn't
we're
they
just going to airlift these dinosaurs in.
Didn't they drop them in crates with parachutes on them?
Yes.
That's so amazing.
And most of them survived.
Good
and
job,
went on
beavers.
to do beaver things.
Good job,
Yeah.
beavers. It's such a ridiculous
So you can
thing.
go to a different place with running water and go, unacceptable!
Stop all the running water.
Stop!
Water should be stagnant, you guys.
Yeah.
Those 3 different species, all
Those are not species.
No.
Stegosaurus is a genus. Okay. Allosaurus is a genus, although, like I said, I think there's only one universally recognized species, so I'll give you a pass on that. Sauropoda is not a species. That is a giant, very diverse group of animals. Oh my goodness. Doesn't even know what a species is. You could just say all these different groups of animals, right? You don't even have to use technical terms. Just say groups of animals, man, and then you're less wrong. See, this is me helping the creationists out. I want them to do better because then it makes my job more interesting. You know how much more interesting it is when I have to actually dig and look up things for, like, what creationists are talking about because their arguments are, like, a bit more sophisticated than, like, sauropod is a species. Come on, man. Stop throwing me easy stuff.
of them at the same time in the same location.
Okay, at the same time, I want you to notice something. You notice how these blue dots are different shades of blue?
Yeah.
Okay, the darker the spot is, the earlier it is. And you know how you can tell is because if you go to the PaleoDB and you look at Jurassic, you'll see that the darkest blue is for early Jurassic. Mid-tone blue is for middle Jurassic, and then light blue is for late Jurassic. And then within that, it's further split up into the actual stages, like the Hadeganian or the Centimurian, which means specifically no, Dan, these aren't from the same time, as we can clearly see on your own damn map. Your map, if you had bothered to show the actual geologic time key, would indicate that no, these are not all from the same time. Some of these are from the early, and some of them are from the mid, and I think a few of them might be from the late Jurassic. Specifically, not the same time. The fact that you just filtered for Jurassic doesn't mean that's all the same thing. The Jurassic isn't a one-day period. Cyrus Cobra Official Per Se says, how could there be lions, leopards, antelope, bovids, crocodilians, and birds all in the Serengeti? Yeah, I mean, that's crazy, right? I would expect there to just be lions.
I like what Crypto457 says. And thanks to the Christian Neil Breen, apparently they think species is a plural and species is the singular.
Oh no. Wait, who's Christian Neil Breen? Is that a joke that I made earlier? I think it might be. I forgot it though. You gotta forgive me, guys. I've done a lot of streaming in the past week or so. Like, a lot.
Yeah.
Oh man. Which, by the way, Vishanti, you haven't seen all the Neil Breen movies, have you?
I have not seen all of them.
Yeah, we gotta fix that. We gotta get you up to speed on the Breenerverse. Because I like to think they all exist in the same cinematic universe.
Of course.
Yeah.
They definitely do to him.
Wow. Goodness. Actually, in his most recent movie that I saw, he toned down like the weird Messiah complex that he usually has, just a scotch. Just a little bit. Because in most of the Neil Breen movies, he's basically like super space Jesus. And it's like, why? Like, one of the movies, like, he's like, I'm the greatest hacker in the world, and also like a novelist for some reason, who like exposes all of the horrible secrets of all the governments, resulting in this like mass wave of stealth alt F4ing, trying to stay on the correct side of the YouTube censors.
He's self-alt F-word.
I mean, I don't have a lot of options for staying on the right side of YouTube censorship. Riley Piak was gifted a membership by Dr. Tapioca Weasel. Thank you very much, Dr. Tapioca Weasel. Remember, guys, if you're new members, go to your Discord, go to settings, go to connections, add your YouTube account. You'll be automatically added to the Discord server. The wrong way to go about it is to DM me on either Discord or Twitter or my email or whatever and say, hey, how do I join the Discord server? Because that's what I'll tell you to do. Here we go.
And kill them all together. When have we ever seen in nature
Never, because it's still not happening in this map.
Yeah, like
a bunch of deer cuddle up with a bunch of grizzly bear with a bunch of raccoons and lie down in a watery grave together and be covered with 50 feet of mud?
I mean,
I haven't been
given that
alive
you're-
for millions of years like you have, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say never.
Yeah, so there's a few things. One is, in a flood, yeah, you will get a mix of various taxa thrown together in the same place. But very obviously, just based on the actual dots that we're being given here, these aren't all in the same place. These are at very different heights stratigraphically. And remember, he's talking about the entire Jurassic period, right? This isn't just like the Morrison formation. This is several different formations. In fact, I'm going to try and pull up that exact map because I should be able to do it. Heather Kuhn for $2 says Christian Neil Breen is from Forest Valkai. Okay, all right, that's fair. Who is it though? Who did he call the Christian Neil Breen? Is it Dan? If it's Dan, I'll appreciate that. Also, Pillowpunk says for $2, shout out to the beautiful disaster of Neil Breen. Oh yeah, Neil Breen he's an amazing filmmaker, and I mean that very literally. All right, so we'll add.
He continues to make these
Dinosaurs.
movies.
And then we'll add Sauropoda, which is such a different kind of thing to add. And yeah, we'll restrict it to Jurassic. Okay, so let's see. Let's take a look at, you see that darkish blue dot that's like the highest one up over there? Let's take a look at that one. Let's see, that's the Stump Formation. Okay, that other dark blue dot is, let's see, the San Rafael group in the Entrada Sandstone Formation. Okay, I'll zoom in a little bit so I get a closer match to his. So let's see, we've also got, a whole bunch of stuff from Lower Mudstone in the, let's see, Bushy Basin member of the Morrison Formation. So we got a bunch of Morrison Formation stuff going on there. But if we come up to what's going on over there in Montana. Which dot is that? Okay, that's this dot. So that's over by Bozeman. Let's see. Morrison Formation, that's cool. So if we go down into, say, New Mexico. Let's take a look at the New Mexico ones. Let's see. Morrison. So yeah, it looks like Morrison is by far the most common one, but there's also some other stuff. In fact, the Bushy Basin member is a lot of it, which makes sense. This is heavily volcanic. It probably would have put down a lot of fossils of all the ash. Let's see. Oh, we got the Entrada Sandstone again on another dot. So yeah, these aren't even all in the same formation. Never mind dying at the same time. Yeah. And all you have to do is actually just click on the dots, and you'll find out that, no, they are not in the same place. They did not all die in the same time. Monthly Tunicate B2022 for £5 says, a girl I used to date taught me a valuable lesson. It's okay to have a huge AIG, but no girl likes it if you are a huge AIG. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Let's continue to have Dan either be completely incompetent at using PaleoDB or just lie to us.
We're looking at an international scale worldwide cataclysm here.
If you're going to say it's international scale, you might want to show us more than just part of the United States. Just
Yeah, the gracious.
Not all Americans, right? But there's a certain subset of America that has a really weird view of the world where, like,
yeah,
the United States is like 80% of everything, and then everything else is just this other little thing. It's like when people assume that everyone online is American.
Yeah.
I hate that so much. Now, there was one, I think it was a tweet or something, and there was this guy who was talking about, like, this kid who made a good decision and went home rather than getting too drunk and drunk driving. And he was talking about how, like, the kid looked like he was, like, only 19. And then some jerk comes into the comments, he's like, oh, the drinking age is 21 in every state. And then...
Look, I'm not American, you dork.
Yeah, the response was like, I, along with dozens of other people, I'm in fact not American.
Yes. Dozens of other people.
There are dozens of us. Dozens.
Dozens.
Oh.
I love it.
When you start digging into the details, it gets even more convincing. Here's a guy.
Does it, dude? No, dude, because we just did that and it got less convincing, but okay.
that was even featured, his character was, in the Jurassic Park movies, named Jack Horner.
Oh my
A worldwide
goodness.
paleontology.
Hey, fun thing about Jack Horner, not a young Earth creationist.
Correct.
Putting that out there.
Expert. He writes this interesting book called Digging Dinosaurs, and he says, you know, he even labels it, if you can see that right up here, it says the search for that unraveled the mystery of baby dinosaurs. So he writes in this book and he says, hey, I found this place where there's that 1.25 miles long, goes east from west, where they found 30 million fossils representing 10,000 Maiasaura dinosaurs. So just think about
I remember when that happened. That was a big deal.
Yep.
that for a minute. 1.25 miles, that's what, maybe a 30-minute walk, 40-minute walk, maybe an hour walk, and the whole time you're walking for a half hour as fast as you can, you're looking down for 1.25 miles and you're seeing 30 million deposited bones representing 10,000 creatures stretched out over 1 mile long.
Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. Also, Astronekomimi for $5 says, average American normie. America invented the internet, so now you need to follow American law. Yeah, it does seem like that's kind of how it ends up working in the minds of a lot of Americans. Now, like I said, I also know a lot of Americans who are not that dumb. I intentionally surround myself with such people.
Yes.
In fact, actually, I think my chat is actually not as heavily American as a lot of other audiences that I find on YouTube.
Yeah, you have a lot of Europeans.
Yeah. Yep. And also people from other places. Like, we get Vietnamese Dong in here, and, we get people from various places in Latin America, Asia, Australia. So I appreciate how diverse the chat is here.
What on earth could do that? He just
Time. You're ignoring the other thesis, right? Here's the thing. Dan, I'm going to speak to you directly as if you're ever going to watch this. Dan, you are trying to overturn essentially everything we know about basically every field of science. In order to overturn an idea where you're trying to say, this idea is bad, my idea is good, not only do you have to describe your idea, you also have to talk about why the other idea does not work to fit the data, right? So if you just say, that's a lot of guys, I guess they all died at the same time, you have to actually address the other option, which is maybe, just maybe, this was an intergenerational nesting ground of these Maiasaura, and that the reason that there are so many different fossils is that they could have actually had more than 1 year's worth of young preserved in this one location. And that maybe a few different years there was something that happened that caused the large sections of this breeding ground to become fossilized. That's another thing is, these were in situ nests. These were an area where thousands of Maiasaura at a time built nests and laid eggs. Under a flood?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a problem for you, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know, but most animals don't lay their very terrestrial hard-shelled eggs under floodwater after intentionally building a nest under a flood. That's not how it works. Heather Kuhn for $5 says, look up. I found creationist Neil Breen, Gramps Goes to College by Forrest Valkai. All right, I
linked it to
you
in Discord.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Yeah, okay. Oh, that guy.
Oh,
I don't even know
funny.
know his real name. But he does look a bit like Neil Breen, and I can see him being okay.
But no, the quality of his movies.
My favorite Neil Breen acting moment is in the scene where his friend has died, apparently, of self-inflicted wounds. He's like, I can't believe you did this. And then he just absentmindedly rubs his face and smears the fake blood corn syrup all over his face.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the take he went with. That was the best take he got. I love Neil Breen. Neil Breen, never change. Keep on doing what you do, man. Okay, well, change a few things. make it less common in your movie that severely underage girls are interested in you. Change that. That's the thing you need to change. Don't change your acting. Don't change your cinematography. Don't change your score or your special effects. But do change that. Because that's not great.
Describes the taphonomy of these creatures and said, when he was looking at these bones, and he says, well, how could any mudslide, no matter how catastrophic, have the force to take a 2 or 3 ton animal that had just died and smash it around so that its femur, still embedded in its flesh of its thigh, could split lengthwise? But here's the most amazing thing.
Are you going to continue that quote? Because I bet he hadn't answered, Dan. Just going out on a limb here. I'll bet that after that question mark was an answer, Dan. But I noticed that you closed the quotation there. You know what that is? That's an obvious quote line. You know what that means Dan's doing? Lying.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. How unexpected that a creationist would lie to my face. We're going to get one more bit from Dan in. Yeah, we're going to get one more bit in from Dan, then we're going to close it out.
Thing about Jack's Find. There were no young.
Okay, yep, just done. Here's a cool thing. What if they died before laying eggs? What if that's what happened? That's all that has to happen. Yeah. Anyway, guys. Also, he did find a lot of baby Myosauri. In fact, there were numerous books published about the baby Myosauri he found, but they were often in eggs. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. You have been extremely awesome in chat. A lot of great comments, a lot of great super chats. 19 new members today. That's pretty awesome.
Woohoo!
So I want to take a look at what is coming up. I believe I do have Vishanti's channel and wishlist linked in the description. Yes, I do. So go check out Vishanti's channel. That will eventually have content, I'm sure. It's only been like
year and a half. It's
year
fine.
And a half, yeah, okay. I'm sure you're still working on that video.
Well, I'm working on a lot of things, but, you know, life.
That's
man.
in there. It's okay. Okay. So for this channel, let's see. Next week on the 20th, Matt with Maddie. That should be Matt with Maddie on that day. On the 22nd, I don't actually remember what's premiering, so let me double check.
Is it a new Roger thing?
No, we're done with Roger. We actually already did all of them.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. Oh, it's the Hydroplate Hype supercut.
Ah.
Yeah. So, complete with the Earth as a desert wasteland, because that's what it would have been before the flood, according to Hydroplate. Not according to the actual advocates about Hydroplate, but if you actually like follow through the logic of their arguments, yeah. Squirting a bunch of water onto the moon and Mars, because that's another part of Hydroplate, is that Earth is the source of all of the comets across the entire solar system, which were all the result of the water that Earth shot off into space. Which, feel free to run the numbers on that. It's not great, because I've done it, and we're talking like how many atomic bombs per square meter? And by atomic bombs, I'm talking like Tsar Bomba atomic bombs, not like Hiroshima atomic bombs. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Anyway, that is on Thursday, the 22nd of June. And then on the 24th, I'm planning to continue on with Dan Biddle. So yeah, now we have a few more super chats. Pibblepunk for $2 says, just like reading only the intro of a study. Yeah, they do that a lot. It's like, oh, this is the first line of the abstract. Oh,
yeah.
You mean the part that tells you the least about the actual conclusion of the study? Weird. And then Strawberry Vein for $2 says, so how do we feel about Arc Discounter? I like it. I think it's fun. I worry that I will forget, though, so remind me if it comes up. And if you remind me each time it comes up, eventually it'll stick into my brain, and then I'll know it. All right, guys, thank you again. Vishanti, unless you have any last words, we're just going to get out of here.
No, I'm good. Gonna go back to bed.
All right. Well, if you're not going back to bed and you're interested, we're going to be watching a few episodes of Power Rangers Turbo over on the Discord channel. So feel free to hang out with that. All right. I'm out of here. Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Bob Knob, Benthoven, Tapioca Weasel, Denny5252, Elleron Teller, Phil Rivara, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostic Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babby, Monkey They Them, San, Sphincter of Doom, and the Venerable Bede. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.